Now we're going to look at The Giver, chapter 9. Okay, for the first time in his 12 years, Jonas feels separate and different. Okay, and this is going to continue right through the story. And he remembers that his training, what the elders had said, his training would be alone and apart. Okay, and his training hasn't begun, but he feels already different from everybody else. So he rides back with Asher, and you know, he's joking with Asher. Oh, it was really funny when she told us about the smacks. Oh yeah, like really funny. For us as readers, it's not funny at all. That story is kind of creepy, don't you think? They're all getting their bikes. All the 12s are getting ready to go back. And the 12s are going to start studying the instructions for the beginning of their training. They're going to... so now, before they had been memorizing required lessons for school, often yawning with boredom. But now they're going to memorize the rules for their adult assignments. Okay, so somebody says congratulations to him, congratulations to Asher, congratulations to Jonas. And they respond and they wave. And Lily's kind of staring at him very solemnly with a thumb in her mouth. He says goodbye to Asher. Goodbye. See you in the morning, recreation director, he says. Right, see you. Asher calls back. And he kind of thinks, oh, nothing's going to change with his friendship with Asher. Maybe everything will just be the same. So in the evening meal, things are kind of quiet. Lily's talking about her plans for volunteer work. And then she says she's already Lily says she's already an expert at feeding Gabriel, but she's not allowed to know his name, and she can't wait till start working at the nurturing center. And then they say to Jonas, his parents say to him that they're very proud of him, that it's the most important job in the community. Interesting. Why is it the most important job in the community? What is this receiver? And then he argues with them. He says, no, but they're like, you used to say that the person who gave the assignments was the most important job, but they're saying, no, this is different. And then he asks, what happened to the one who was selected before? But the chief elder said that they had made a selection before and that failed. What was she talking about? And both his parents kind of pause a minute. And they want to know, what was his name? And they say, no, it wasn't him, it was her. And we are never to speak the name or to use it again for a new child. Interesting. So the name is taboo. Remember, we talked in class about things that are taboo, like releasing is a taboo. It's something that we don't know what happens, but we just know people are released. So this person who was a receiver with the most important job in the community, they don't even mention her name. Very strange. This indicates a very high degree of disgrace de boucha. Jonas says, what happened to her? And they say, we don't know. We never saw her again. Okay, and then there's silence, very uncomfortable. And then they go back, oh, well, Jonas, you've been greatly honoured. Kind of not a good start, really, is it, for Jonas's job? So he's getting ready for bed, and he opens up his folder. Now, this is very important. All this is the information that he is given. A lot of the people who are given complicated jobs, like the scientific male or the doctor, they're given huge amounts of instructions. He has a very thin folder. It was startlingly close to empty, and there was one printed sheet. So these are the rules, okay? Immediately at the end of school hours, you go to the annex entrance behind the house and present yourself to the attendant. Behind the house of the owner, present yourself. Go immediately to your dwelling at the conclusion of training hours each day. That means that you can't go anywhere after you've trained. You have to go straight home. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3. From this moment, you're exempted from the rules governing rudeness. You may ask any question of any citizen and you will receive answers. So all of a sudden he can ask questions. That's interesting. Do not discuss your training with any member of the community, including parents and elders. Wow. So Jonas now has to keep himself apart from his parents in a way. And he's not even allowed to tell about dreams. You are prohibited from dream telling. It's not patur. It's asur lo lagid al halamot shelo. He's not allowed to tell about his dreams. So apart from illness or injury, you do not apply for medication. No more pills for Jonas. All right, so he's completely floored by this. Like, what is this about? You know, what's going to happen to his friendships? What's going to happen to playing ball? What's going to happen to riding a bike? This is supposed to be happy and vital times, and why have they been taken away from him? It's, you know, he's still 12. Like, what? I have to just go, I go and train, and then I go straight home, and that's it. Okay, so he's going to have no time for recreation, right? No time for fun stuff. Okay, and also that he can be rude. He's allowed to be rude to people. Here, rude means that he's asking direct questions about things. It doesn't necessarily mean calling people bad names. He can ask them intimate questions, and he can call someone's attention to an area of awkwardness. And he doesn't think that not telling dreams is going to be a problem because he doesn't dream that much. But then he's thinking, well, what if he does dream? What does he tell them? That would be that he hadn't dreamed. That would be a lie. In this community, you're not allowed to lie. And then he really doesn't want to think about the final rule on the page, because medication is something that's always available to citizens. They don't feel pain, right? When he crushed the finger in the door, his mother. Said to this, he quickly, gasping to speak and notified his mother, and she had hastily requisitioned relief of pain medication, which had been promptly delivered to his dwelling. Almost instantly, the excruciating pain in his hand had diminished to the throb, which was now all he could recall of the experience. He crushed his hand in a door. His mother immediately requested medication. The medication was delivered, and the pain all went away. Isn't that nice? Okay, so so if it's unrelated to training, he is allowed to receive medication. He looks at the fine print. And the pill that he takes now for his stirrings, he's still allowed to continue taking that. And then he remembers that the chief elder told him about the pain would be indescribable. Wow. So Jonas, it really can't imagine having pain that is that bad without any medication. He's not used to feeling pain. And rule number 7. Oh, hang on. Did I talk about rule number 7? Oh, I think it's at the bottom of this page, and I can't see the page. He's not allowed to apply for release. 1 second. Oh, I can't scroll it up. Never mind. Okay, so he's not. Rule number 7. He's not allowed to apply for release. Okay, whatever release is. Okay, so he steeled himself to read the final rule again. He'd been trained since earliest childhood, since his earliest learning of language, never to lie. It was an integral part of the learning of precise speech. Once, when he had been a 4, he had said just prior to the midday meal at school, "I'm starving." And then he's like given this whole lecture from saying, you're not allowed to say you're starving, you're allowed to say you're hungry. No one in the community is starving. No one had ever been starving and would ever be starving. To say starving was to speak a lie. Obviously, it wasn't done on purpose, but precision of language is very important in this community. Something that we can talk about. How important is precision of language? Okay. So he'd never been tempted to lie, and Asher doesn't lie, Lily doesn't lie, his parents didn't lie. We're going to be going back to this statement again, because Jonas is going to find out things. Okay, so now Jonas now he's really worried, because maybe other people receive in their instructions something like that they're allowed to lie. So if people are allowed to lie, then maybe people are lying. He's starting to, take a step back and look at the community. Maybe everything isn't as perfect as he thinks it is. Okay, so he's thinking about this rudeness, and then he was thinking maybe he should ask his father, "Do you lie?" But then he wouldn't know if the answer he received was true. Okay, so Jonas is starting to look very differently at the community around him.